So I'm Danny Lichtenfeld, director of the Brattleboro Museum and Art Center. We just finished watching Def Jam, which I thought was awesome. This is Elizabeth Bierke, our ASL signer, who's interpreter, who did a fantastic job all through the film. And now we're just going to have a little conversation about the movie. And for that, I'm going to introduce John Castrese from the Vermont Center for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, a great resource right here in Brattleboro that I think not many people here in Brattleboro even know what goes on there and what you guys are up to. So it's great to have you here tonight. So happy to see all of you and happy to hear from all of you and from John. Thank you very much. Who am I giving this to? Okay. Oh, so I should say one more thing. As we have this conversation, if you have a question or something you want to say, if you would please stand up so that Ian can film you. And if you're not signing, if you're going to be speaking, then raise your hand and Tammy will bring you this microphone because this will make sure that what you say will get picked up for the recording. Okay? Thank you.
All right. Hello, everybody. Pretty amazing movie. This film is a perfect example of how you can express yourself. All these teenagers really getting into the depths of themselves and telling their story. Would you agree? All right. For me, it fits me to a T. I feel like it's phenomenal to explain our culture and everything. I mean, a lot of us have grown up and thought about this, so now let's open the floor for discussion. American Sign Language is a three-dimensional visual language. You can see it in how the action happens. You are fully immersed and engrossed in it when you see it. People that are hearing do have a vocal intonation. You can speed it up, slow it down. I mean, I can't hear it, mind you, as a deaf individual, but with the signing, I can absolutely make an equivalent message. So what do you think? What do you think of the film? Yeah. Did you like it? Yes. Yes. You loved it? Oh, yeah. It was great. Yes. I really liked it. So what was your favorite part? Seeing the American Sign Language in its purest form. I mean, that was also at Lexington School for the Deaf, which I used to go to, so it was great to see that. I know a lot of the people that were in the film, so it was pretty phenomenal. Yes. I like the film. I love seeing the language. And the poem about communism, it was great imagery. I just thought it was a pretty dramatic interpretation of it. I would love to be able to do that myself. Yeah. So you want to sign a poem? No, I'm just thinking in the future, it's amazing. I don't know if we're allowed to do anything here and now. Maybe not? Yeah. Anyway, never mind. He said maybe later, maybe later. Yes. If I can come up here, if that's all right. American Sign Language is such a powerful language. A lot of people don't realize the immensity and the culture that's related to it. Culture and language are interconnected. This is how we express ourselves and tell our story and pass it on through all the generations. I absolutely cannot imagine life without this language. We cherish it tremendously. And to see this and the slam poetry is phenomenal. And to have them have it once a month, it's great because we can really share our language with other people. People that are not deaf can see it and really get an understanding that we do have a language and a culture of our own. And there's so many different cultures that have their own language, and we are part of that. So it's nice to have that recognized on film. Hi, my name is Shawn Williams, and I am deaf and hard of hearing sometimes. Coming to watch this film, you know, it meant so much to me. They really got into the depths of deafness, and, you know, it's a big world out there. We have a visual language that we utilize. And really, our world, it's all about ASL. You know, we show that deaf people can do a multitude of things. We just don't hear. I can speak of my own accord. I choose not to sometimes. You know, I want to be immersed in this world. And watching the film, I just can't put it into words. Just to see the students and the adults and the parents, whoever is there, I mean, everyone you can possibly think of is impacted. You can learn our language. Anybody can. Our language really shows everything because it is visual. It doesn't exclude. I'm sure some of you might be taking ASL classes, trying to work on your skills. I have noticed, you know, you're pretty fascinated with deaf people, our culture, our language, which is great. And I love if the world could learn sign language. I would absolutely love it. It would just make our world bigger and bigger and so visual. So thank you so much for having this, and I appreciate it. Thank you for coming, John. Yes?
How long does it take someone who's starting from scratch to learn to become fluent in ASL?
There's no magical set number of years or what have you. You can learn. It's going to take time. It depends on your aptitude and your ability and how much you interact with the community to pick up the language. If you interact with some deaf folks that are fluent signers, more often than not, it's going to help. But if you don't interact very much, it's going to take a long time because you need to immerse yourself and enculturate yourself with the language to really understand it and pick it up. And the more you do that, the faster it comes.
So
anybody else want to add to that?
It was a silly question, of course, just like learning any other language is basically the answer, right?
Basically, yep. It's on par with that. You have to immerse yourself in the culture and the language to really understand it fully. Yes, let me just check on other folks. Yeah, I mean, he already said it pretty well. I just wanted to add in, you have to be willing to dive in and to really go into the culture. ASL, it's communication. I mean, of course, the best way to communicate and to learn a language is to interact with the people that are native users of it to really improve your skills. Yes. Can you stand up, please? Yeah, I'm just thinking, if people are learning American Sign Language, I would say the fastest way to do it is to really take your time, see how it goes, but interact with people. And it's going to take some time, but it will come if you practice and you work hard at it. Great. Let me see, who else? I absolutely, yeah, can I add a comment? Sure. I really enjoyed watching the film. Yeah, and learning about the history, watching the woman. It's the first time I've seen this. And just to see the woman talking about not having friends, that made an impact. Yep. I absolutely agree with you. We all saw that. It's amazing. Having your friends graduate and leave, it's really hard. Yeah, I know that feeling. I just want to say thank you for showing the film. My name is Val. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. I went to a school for the deaf and then went to a public school and was mainstreamed. And my interpreter used English Sign Language, so not ASL with the full structure and syntax and grammar. So it was more of an English syntax, and it did skip a couple of things. It wasn't a full ASL translation. But again, our language is three-dimensional. It's amazing. You can see the whole picture, and it's a visual language that really helps you understand what's being said. So after I graduated, I went back to school and learned more about ASL, and I really realized, wow, I understand that girl's position in life. And I went through that myself. Why am I deaf? I mean, I love music, and I thought, why can't I hear this? How do I fit into the world? Sometimes I wish I could hear the words like she said, but there's a way we can see music visually, and that's really cool. You want to add? Yeah, this movie, my gosh. Clayton Valley, a very amazing person in our community. I met him. He used to go to Austin School for the Deaf, and it was great to see him. In meeting him back in the day, oh, I don't know how to explain him. I've got his DVD. He's just a phenomenal ASL poet. And I would say if you can rent it, watch it. He's very inspiring. So it's nice that our alumni was on this film. And you all can be just like him. So with the film, when the two girls were doing poetry together, they said 2 languages, 2 cultures, 1 poem. And I thought, wow, you've got the person who is deaf signing in ASL and the person who is speaking English. It is phenomenal to see the same message. I don't understand what the spoken English is, but I understood the ASL portion of it. It was great. And it's amazing to see the years and years of oppression. It showed the history and how oralism was so prevalent back in the day. And I think about my upbringing. It is hard to speak if you can't hear yourself in the first place. So imagine being forced to do that. It's such a challenge. And finally, I just gave up on it, and I feel that my home, my culture, my language is ASL. Some parts of the movie, you remember you saw the people showing their bus card. What did it say on the bus card? Do you remember that? Disabled. That was the purple disability. So yeah, do you feel that deafness is a disability? No, the majority of you do not. So I'm wondering, why do people that are not deaf call a deaf person disabled? Why is that? And Nick's saying, because they can't hear. Yeah. People think they can't hear, so they must be disabled. So she said, instead of they can't hear, they don't hear. It has more of a positive implication, as opposed to can't, which is negative. I actually would say I sign, as opposed to the other 2 options. That works for me. I sign. I mean, I can't hear, I don't hear. It's too negative. I've heard it from everybody in my life. I'm done with it. I can do things, and I sign. Yeah, if you can just move into the light, that would be easier. So, if we are labeled disabled, I'm just wondering about all of our accomplishments and the people we look up to, our teachers, our counselors, all the people in our community that have succeeded. So they really can't say that we are disabled. I mean, it's amazing. I know there's some people that really succeed in life, so why the label is still there? It's frustrating that people that are not deaf look at us that way. I don't like being called disabled. I hate it. I mean, it's very oppressive to be called that. It's a barrier to my interactions with the world. And I understand maybe this is their view, but they should know that sure, we cannot hear, but there's other ways to communicate, and that's all right. I mean, other people just don't seem to see it that way. Any other comments? Anybody else?
Hello. So I'm diving in and taking classes at the Austin School. This is my first deaf event. I was anxious and excited at the same time. I feel so blessed and honored to be here. I'm being patient with my learning, but I'm so happy to embrace the culture. And tonight, being here with all of you and seeing the film, my heart feels it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being open and coming here and immersing yourself. We really appreciate it. Yes.
Hi. I was a student of poetry in college, and I started writing poetry when I was 13, and it was so good for me to, open up. And when they talked in the movie about loneliness, I thought that that was really a beautiful part of the film, because we can all relate to that. And I brought my nephew here, an 8th grader from BAMS. He had to leave early, but he was so inspired to be part of the deaf community, and he's a hearing, on the hearing side, and he was so inspired, and he said he really wanted to learn ASL. And it's so great to have the communities come together to learn. The other thing I wanted to say is I feel very fortunate to be here tonight, but last night I went to the Center for Digital Art. Does anyone know about this? It's at the high school, the Brattleboro High School, and it's for film and learning for students.
At Cotton Mill Hill?
Yes.
Yep, I'm involved with that class, actually.
Well, so last night I saw this young man. You want to stand up and say hi? No. He's too shy. He was so good. Oh, so good. And they used the words of the poet John Keats, who was a romantic poet, and so long ago, 1800s. So this is old poetry that was reinterpreted using visual and with sign language. And it was a way for me, I studied poetry in college, but only with hearing and written. So I saw a whole new art of the poetry. Thank you.
So I think about home and the computers we use sometimes. And sometimes there's poetry in that. And you can see some pretty famous poems. And you can watch the music. There's a lot of resources. And I really enjoy watching that through the computer and learning the artistic side of it when I'm home. And sometimes I make my own artwork and express myself that way. And I think it's great to be able to watch the music and the poems like we saw in the movie. And watching deaf people use their language in such a way. It was really cool. And I think about deafness and what that means. Yeah, you just don't hear. And I think about when I was growing up at an elementary school and what my experience was like as a deaf individual. And then I moved here to Vermont, and I'm at the Austin School for the Deaf. And there's so much more communication. I understand better. Thank you. One thing that I noticed in the film, they talked about the written language and having things filmed. American Sign Language, you can't write it down, you know? One girl said, so how do we translate this into spoken English or written English? And it's so challenging because it is visual. To put that on paper, it doesn't make as much sense. It's not the same. So it's a very different style of communicating. And so with that partnership, I'm just curious what she had thought about that and how to translate the two languages. Again, American Sign Language is not a written language. Remember, it's visual. It's impossible to translate that exactly into written English. And I'm just thinking about this film. The two girls that you saw that worked together in conjunction with that one poem. Again, two languages, two cultures, one poem. That was a huge impact on me. And I think about people that are deaf and people that are not deaf and how we can become one poem. I just wonder how that's possible. How do we do it? Maybe we can come up with one poem together and work in conjunction. Yes?
I don't know why we can't just take as a model what they did there, and if there's a group here, a group associated with the Austin School or Vermont Center for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, I'll bet there's a group at BAMS or at the high school or somewhere else here in town, and we could have an event here that would be a poetry event involving ASL poetry and spoken poetry. I think that would be awesome.
Count me in.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I would absolutely be here for that. I'm sure everybody would be back for that, no doubt.
If John, if you have any final comments you wanted to make or any final questions, or I think we should probably just about wrap it up. We have to close up soon. You're welcome to take a few minutes, as we exit here to look around the museum, but we need to close things down pretty soon.
Final comment? I might talk with the people there at school and see if there's some way we can figure out a way to conjoin this. Because the community in the Brattleboro area, I mean, maybe we could do a once-a-month poetry slam or something, just like was in the film, and it would spread like wildfire, I think. So I will talk to the people in the higher-up levels of education, see what I can do. Maybe the principal, or anyway. So I'll see if we can make that happen with the community. And I'm thinking, like everyone said, ASL is amazing. And if we spread it, it's going to really have a good impact on America. All right. I really hope that everyone enjoyed the film, has some food for thought. So when you leave tonight, share this message to anyone you come across. Spread the word. And next time you happen to meet a deaf person, don't say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're deaf." You know what? Don't do it. It's just not worth it. This is our natural way of being. This is our natural language. These are great teenagers. They're like any other teenagers. We look the same. We act the same. There's no difference, all right? So don't apologize. I think that wraps it up for the evening. Thank you all for coming. Great evening. Take a look around. Drive safe. Good night.